I guess we'll open it up to questions to see if anybody have questions for you about contenders, playing Reaper, DPS. Basically, open questions for you guys if you have anything you want to ask of Mr. Spirit himself. So, you have just any general wisdom you would offer people in terms of climbing, or of course, the average. The most of the people who watch this stream are either platinum or diamond. So, if you were to try and give like one piece of advice to somebody in platinum or diamond, what would it be?
I think that it is best to stick to one or two roles to climb. And what I mean by that is, in this meta, you play either Hanzo or you play Zarya, for example. I think a lot of people try to stretch themselves too thin. They try to fill everything the team needs. Oh, we need a main tank this game. Oh, I'll just pick main tank. And then they do poorly and their team flames them and they become demoralized. And I even see that at GM when people try to fill, they just get flamed for it. So it's not good to only play one role, because then you get anyone else on your team becomes really hard. But it is good, I think, to fill max two roles, because otherwise I think you're stretching yourself a bit too thin. I think personally that's the best way to climb. So if you play like off tank, you could probably fill support, for example. But yeah, just try not to stretch yourselves too thin. I think it's the main thing. If you can't afford to play, 6 hours every single day, try to go ham on a few things.
Fair enough. Okay, and let's see what questions are. I did see your bits demo medic, but we've already seen two of your clips, I think, in the last week. So, got to give some stream time to other people's clips as well. Ask him how threatening is a Pharah to Reaper on the first point on that VOD. So on Lijiang Gardens, how are you playing around Pharah?
So on Garden, as you saw, I TP to the point. So the Pharah isn't really much threat to me, but if they have Pharah, you need to go White Room basically every fight. And that's the issue. Against Pharah, you often have to ignore, unless you can start on a high ground, like on Gibraltar. It's best to just ignore her if she has the pocket. But if you play the way I do, and you try to play the inside of the map, the Pharah really isn't that threatening. You can often kill her if you get good enough spread, and if your team walks white, as they did. A White Room largely shuts that down the same way that going to point on Nepal Village does shut down the Fair Mercy comp as well.
And you're on Grizzlies Esports again, Contenders
Yes.
team. It's I suppose most people in Contenders have the dream of making it to Overwatch League. Is that your dream as well?
Yeah, I would love to be in Overwatch League.
Do you think you're good enough for Overwatch League?
I think there are a lot. There are a lot of people that still aren't in it that probably deserve it over me right now. Buds being probably the most notable person there.
Yeah, Buds is the guy who didn't get in because he leaked stuff, right?
Yeah, I think there's.
Or is that just Flame being foolish?
I don't think that was quite the only story. I think if it comes down to, you have a winning squad, not really a winning squad, but you have so many good pieces and you have such a solid core, and the teammates that are already on have to convince the GM to get you on. You probably weren't on it to begin with, and you were probably not going to have the spot regardless of what happened.
Fair enough. How do you train your mechanics? Do you do custom games, deathmatch, OS, aim hero? How do you go about practicing your mechanics, or do you just play the game?
I have just been playing the game. I mean, these days I'm streaming for 6 hours every single night, and that's practice in itself. And I think playing the game is probably the best way to train your mechanics, because if you do custom games, for example, if you do aim hero or Osu or whatever people want to do, you're not really under the right kind of pressure. Because I know that's a common thing I've heard. A lot of people say they feel pressured and they don't want to play when their SR's on the line. But you're not really training under the right conditions to practice if you're not playing comp.
Interesting. What do you do if you're a one trick and when you pick your hero, the team starts throwing? So is this something that even GM Top 500 you run into? You pick Reaper and your team just throws? How do you react to that?
I've never experienced that, because basically everyone in GM knows who I am a little bit. I actually see when even when we have other Reaper players on my team when I'm playing on my alt accounts or something, someone will be like Spirit in chat when they see someone that like plays mostly Reaper, and it's pretty funny.
I think
They're like hoping it's me or something.
it's Skeptical 404. I think is the only other Reaper main or one trick I know
Yeah,
in
yeah.
GM right now.
He's
Are there others?
I don't think so. He's a sub in my chat actually.
Oh,
He's been
really?
following my stream
That's
He's
awesome.
been following me for a while actually. I mean, there's not a lot you can do when people decide they want to throw the game, regardless of what you're playing. I have plenty of people that just come in and soft or hard throw my games. There's not a lot you can do. You just got to accept that the game's
Do you
probably
use
over.
the game as a practice session? Do you just try and have fun?
Yeah, just try to have fun with it.
Just try and have fun.
I don't think taking the game too seriously when you're playing a 5v6 like that is the best way to go about it, because it'll just end up making you frustrated. Just try to have fun with it and move on to the next one. Try not to let it linger with you too much.
What does Spirit think of the games of yesterday on Beat Invitational? How could they have proved their gameplay, and what could they have done to be more threatful? So, against the 3 tank, 3 support composition yesterday in the Beat Invitational, what do you think was the correct answer to counter that composition?
I've heard a lot of players say they've never played against it. I don't actually know what the solution to that is. I don't know if there is. The whole point of that comp is to stop the current combo comp of Zarya Hanzo. Basically, your D.Va plays off to the side, and as long as your D.Va can either eat the grab or your D.Va can fly at the Hanzo and eat the dragon. And neither of those is a fight win because you have not that much damage outside of that. Once they're out of the grab, they just simply walk at you. I don't know. I like what they did with the Bastion, but they needed to pick a Mercy at the end there. That was probably the sloppiest thing I saw all night.
Yeah, the Bastion pick? Well, it was kind of like a...
Well, the Bastion pick it worked well. They just needed to pick a Mercy instead of a Moira, and it actually would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
They got the D-suit instantly, and he just died to spam because they didn't have enough HP for him. I don't know what the counter to that comp is, and that'll be something I think
we'll probably find out in the coming weeks as other people try and scrim it. So, favorite Overwatch League team?
I liked Boston. Boston has always been my favorite team, and Boston is my favorite team because the beginning of the season I saw so many people shitting on them, and we were one of the teams that was scrimming them as they were evolving. You know, when they were first getting made by Huck, and I knew how good all of this. That they were doing so well, and they were playing from Korea, Gamsu and Striker, and it was actually insane. So they're always my favorite team because they came into the season being massive underdogs. People had no idea how good they were.
Do you have a role model or somebody you look up to or respect in the Overwatch League as a player?
I mean, it's no one that I really look up to, I guess, because I've been playing against most of those players for basically forever since I started playing the game. I wish I was there, but
yeah.
I don't really look up to any of them the way you would like a role model.
Looking for more questions for you. Play Minecraft right now, or I'll never watch you again.
Well,
bye. Well, I don't know what he expected, but favorite Reaper skin?
Shiver, easy. That's
Shiver.
So easy.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice choice. Well, that is all I had for you. Finished about 30 minutes early. Look at us.
It's not a very complex hero.
No.
There's not much to talk about.
Cool. Well, is there anything that you wanted to talk about or go over or anything like that? Are you streaming today? You're streaming today.
I am. I'm streaming
starting in
5 hours.
Starting in 5 hours. Okay, so too early to pass the host off to
Eastern,
you.
Just 8 Pacific.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining me and shedding some light onto it. It was fun. I'll have to do something like this. Maybe we'll probably never, ever be able to find another time where the both of us are available at the same time.
Without sacrificing a lot of sleep on either end.
I'm going to have to go and figure out where I got my information on about Reaper's pellets because I had a misunderstanding about how his spread works.
I don't know. The biggest issue is that we don't have this kind of information.
Yeah, right. This whole Dragon Strike kerfuffle thing, like this thing where nobody really knows how much damage Dragon Strike does.
Mr. Bleeple actually, a couple weeks before that Reddit post, he posted information in Pro Talk,
Yeah.
and it's like slowly ramps up until it deals 300, basically 300 damage per second, like 50 damage a tick or something. It's super strange how it's like coded, and in a supposedly competitive game, the fact that we don't have this kind of information available.
Yeah,
Is
there's no
really,
documentation.
really
Like we have a wiki, but it's basically community held and whatnot. And then there's also where there are patch notes. For example, the only heroes that we have information for are on their spread is where they've just happened to include the like the degrees of spread in the patch notes. And then so like the information about the exact spreads on heroes is spotty at best, I suppose. And then there's the difference where a meter or something in Overwatch is actually like 1.3 meters. But yeah, there's actually an incredible amount of missing documentation or incorrect documentation in the game.
Half the stuff gets left out of the patch notes anyway, so it's like,
Yep. Yep, absolutely. So, and
been spoiled by Valve, I think. They document everything.
Yeah, and there's people like you and Clone Man. Clone Man, very instinctual player, and I think you're on the more instinctual rather than analytic side, where you don't, you and Clone Man are probably proof that you don't really need to know numbers or do calculus in your head to be good at the game. Some people do that, and that's their thing, to be able to just, min-max specific things, but you don't really need that information, I guess, to make top 500, top 100, top 20. It's just you don't need it. So I guess there is some credit to what Blizzard is saying.
There is some game knowledge you need, like the breakpoints. Like knowing when you can one-shot someone, knowing that you can outdamage trans with Dragon Strike, that sort of thing that you kind of need to know before. And that kind of stuff is more important when you're deciding what comp to play, rather than in the middle of the game. Like it's very clear that dive is not enough damage when Brigitte has 150 HP, 75 armor, heal, plus a shield bash. That's like very clear just from a numbers perspective. You look at it for 2 seconds and it's like, all right, well, we can't play this now. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on.